Bandwidth for first updates now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways. Bandwidth for first updates now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to AndyMark.
Hey guys, welcome to FUNalysis. Tonight we're going to be breaking down some excellent matches. We've really, I think, had First Power Up hit its stride, and we have some amazing matches going down. I'm Mason Marquis, and joining me today, we have some of the best strategic minds in First. Please help welcome Karthik Kanagasapathy.
Hey, everyone.
And joining us from the Midwest under Tornado Watch is Nick Lawrence.
Hey, guys.
And in the background today, helping us out with the replay, is Mr. Tyler Olds. All right, so couple things before we get started. Make sure that you're going to tag at First Update Now with any questions or comments that you would like to discuss during the show. We're constantly trying to make this more user interactive. We want to hear what you guys have to think about what we're saying, what these matches are happening, what else is going out and around in the other competitions that are similar to what we're seeing. And we're happy to answer any questions you guys have about maybe strategic ideas. During the competition season here, we're running a lot of different shows on the First Updates Now network. So we're going to be doing an accelerated time. We're going to try to get through everything as fast as we can. So if we talk fast, I'm going to apologize for that. And one more thing, item of business, we have a giveaway tonight from Team 829, the Digital Goats. Tyler, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, guys. Sorry about that. We're having some little bit of technical difficulties on my end for things, but we'll go ahead and show this awesome T-shirt that 829 is going to be giving away. If you are interested in winning this, we're going to be giving it away near the end of the show here. So you'll have to make sure you either follow or subscribe. Subscribers do get 5 times luck for winning and for supporting First Updates Now, which we definitely thank. And you'll have to type in a keyword near the end of the show. So go ahead and do that, and you'll get your chance to win.
All right. Thank you very much, Tyler. We are community sponsored here, so we want to thank all of our subscribers and donors who allow us to produce shows like FUNalysis and all the other great web shows that we're putting out there. So if you do appreciate this content, please consider donating tips, bits, and subscribing to our show so that we continue to keep making great content. We don't get paid for this, so we just want you to like our stuff. So please help. All right. You guys ready to get down to business? Maybe a quick round table here. Karthik, quick thoughts on the way Power Up is progressing.
The game is, it's exciting at times. I'm still a little concerned because there's just so many matches that end in the first, 15 seconds. So that's a little bit of a downer. But when you get, at least 4 good robots, 4 scaling robots in a match, then all of a sudden those back and forth battles on the scale make for some super, super exciting matches. And it's just, a lot of them are decided on who makes the first mistake. So it's strategy is critical this year.
So often we can identify one point in the match where there's a critical mistake that swings it in the other direction. Nick, you got a quick thought before we get going here?
Yeah, this game is brutal when it comes to schedule is the biggest thing that I've seen. That you can pretty much tell who's going to be the top 8 once the schedule comes out. That's the thing I've noticed pretty much week in and week out. Look at somebody's schedule. Do they have a good schedule? Nah. Are they going to be the top 8? Is pretty easy to tell when you see the schedule come out. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays at the championship.
All right, so let's get down to the business. I'm going to start today. I picked a match that I thought was really exciting. It's 2 title weight powerhouse teams going up against each other. This was the Colorado Regional. That was 2 weekends ago. I happened to be out of the country, so I missed watching it live and came back and streamed through it and was just couldn't put it together what really happened in here. So it took me quite a bit of watching it. We were just talking before the show how first power up is like 6 different games going on at the same time. So it takes a keen eye to kind of put together all the different actions that are going and how they're playing off of each other, and I think what's crazy about this is it seems like teams make very small adjustments that have really big impacts in the game. So I'm going to be focusing on just some of those small, minuscule things in the match that looks like they had a pretty big effect. Going into this, I think 148 and 16-19, that's up a creek. Let me back up. Back in the qualifications at this tournament, it was 3 teams really fighting for that number 1 seed, 118 the Robonauts, 148 Robo Wranglers, and 16-19 Up a Creek. It was no secret that 118 and 148 wanted to play together. They had won the Dallas Regional together, but Up a Creek was just doing awesome. They were getting the extra RPs in all their matches. Late in the morning on Saturday, 148 and 118 have to play each other. 118 beats 148, which knocks 148 out of the running and pushes Up a Creek up into the first seed, which then it's pretty clear based on the results that Up a Creek picked 148, leaving 118 to be their own alliance captain and build their alliance there, which, on paper looked like that was going to be some really exciting matches, and they did not disappoint whenever we got to it. So let's bring up the video and roll right into autonomous mode here. For me, there's a couple really interesting things that we get going in autonomous mode. And Tyler, if you could just pause this right at the end of autonomous, and we'll kind of talk through a few things that happen here. If you look in the lower right corner, Up a Creek Robotics, they end autonomous. Just pause it right here at the end of autonomous, okay? Look who's done something and look who hasn't. Up a Creek Robotics, they get 1 in the not Up a Creek, sorry, 3005 Robo Chargers. They put 1 in the switch, they grab another cube, and then they pick which side they're going to drive through, and they're going to line up to get ready to go up on the scale. Robonauts 118, they got a cube in their hand, they're ready to go up to their scale. Their third partner didn't do anything. They sacrificed those 5 points. If you watch in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, this alliance actually loses one of their semifinal matches. They have this chaotic autonomous routine where the robots are bumping into each other, and so they actually have one of their robots sit out. In the qualification matches, you'd never do that because you lose the RP points. But in this match, they decide that they're gonna forego those 5 points to keep it clear, and now they've got their 2 strongest robots with cubes ready to go on the correct side of the field. If you look at the Red Alliance, Up a Creek, who's number 1 seed, great robot. Well, they don't have an autonomous mode that's very compatible with the Robo Wranglers. So Robo Wranglers go to the scale, they put 2 up on the scale, grab a third one, very impressive autonomous mode. But Up a Creek, they don't do anything. In fact, they drive to the wrong side of the field. So they're in a very poor position right now to come out of autonomous. They have a cube, but they're a long ways away from the scale, where the Blue Alliance is much more prepped. Unfortunately, Paradox, the third robot on the Red Alliance, they have a switch auto, and the cube slipped out of their hands, so a little bit of robot malfunction there. So as soon as we go into the start of this match, it's a race for the scale right at the beginning. So we can pause right there. Right here is perfect. 2 blue robots go to the scale. 3005 goes up because they have a cube right out of autonomous. Robonauts have already delivered 1. Robo Wranglers have already delivered 1 on the Red Alliance. But what does Up a Creek do? Up a Creek takes that cube that's ready to go, and they go to the switch. Now, I think that in some ways can be smart because it gets some of the clutter out of the ways. And we see 2 robots scoring on one place, it's really difficult. But going to the switch early puts them at a disadvantage on the scale, while the Blue Alliance is double tapping the scale with 2 robots up there. And if we play on here, I want you guys to watch Up a Creek on the right side of the field. Right here, they grab a cube. These are the unprotected cubes. They're fair game, and they drop it in the switch. If we can just roll that back one more time to highlight that. At about 125, Up a Creek, they start using these protected cubes. This game turns into, on the right side there, Up a Creek scoring on the switch. This game is turning into such a battle for these unprotected cubes that are out in the center of the field, and Up a Creek is using those to put them in the switch. Well, here we are just a few seconds down the road. I mean, there's 110 seconds left in the match, and there's no protected cubes left. I think at this point, there's just 1 left on the blue side of the field. They're so valuable in this game. So to put one of those early into a switch, to me, feels like a big mistake there. You don't want to risk those cubes going to something so quick like the switch. I would say you want to be filling your switch with the cubes that are coming from your protected zone, because you can do that later in the match, or maybe ones that fall from the portal. We kind of let this go play, but I do want to roll back also to about 1:05 on the clock here, where we see Paradox starts to play defense on 3005. So right here in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you can see Paradox, the red robot, playing defense on Robochargers, the blue robot. Now, Robochargers, I think, to stay out of the way, they were told to go score on the far scale. Robonauts, I think, do better whenever they're playing alone, whenever they're stacking the cubes, they can get them in a straighter line. So they're asking 3005 to go over there and try to attack the opponent's switch. Well, the Red Alliance doesn't want to let that happen, so Paradox's job becomes guard 3005, protect our switch, don't let it get taken away. But now you've distracted a robot away that's supposed to be doing your vault and doing your switch, and 3005 is a really good robot, so they get around Paradox quite a few times, and that forces Up a Creek then to put more energy back onto the switch. So Paradox ends up being distracted, the red robot, for most of the match trying to play defense on 3005. So they get barely any action into their vault on the Red Alliance. Those vault points end up adding up quite a bit in these tight matches, where the Blue Alliance is able to fill up most of their vault. Right here, also, you can see up in the top left corner, the third robot on the Blue Alliance, 4293 Komodo, they're forcing Robo Wranglers to get D'd as they try to get cubes from the portal. Why is 148 going to the portal so early in the match? Because there's no cubes left on the unprotected zones. All those went away so fast. These cubes are so critical in this game. So as soon as teams have to start going to the portal, exactly what happens with what's circled here is that you get D'd and you get slowed down and your pace totally gets destroyed.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you there, Mason. So if you were in the box there as 148, you have no more of those switch cubes. Do you make the decision to go to the portal, or do you make the decision to go to your protected pyramid?
That's a great. It's a hard decision to make, but I do think in that situation that yes, you're going to have to go to the portal. You're going to have to suck it up and lose some time there. But what I missed and meant to point out a few seconds ago is if we roll it back to like 98 seconds, just go a little bit before this, but 148's at the portal right now. But when they made that decision to go to the portal, there was actually a cube available. So just roll the clock back to 98, 100 seconds, and you see them make this jump, and they actually zip right past the cube, right there. So 118 ends up going for that cube. I think that could have been 148's cube right there that they could have gotten in there and gone for. And instead, when they run all the way to the portal, then they get locked up in this defense, which starts eating away at the clock. But I think the Blue Alliance has the right strategy for their third robot, Komodo, whose job is to play defense on 148, slow them down. And that's whenever you're taking, a robot that's maybe not a high contributor to the score and using them very effectively to take out one of the top scorers on the other alliance. And then over here on the Blue Alliance, you can see how cleanly 118 has stacked these up. I think that's a big part of this game is your ability to make clean stacks. 118 has just got a perfect 6 on the bottom floor there. As we get deeper and deeper into these competitions where things get tighter, I think that it's a race. It's always going to race to the scale. But now the race turns into a game of who can stack the most volume. Because at some point in the match, the cubes just start rolling off. And the Red Alliance was really hurt by it on this time. I mean, we could go back and count all the cubes that fall off as 148 and Up a Creek are trying to put these up. They keep falling off. And I think the Blue Alliance, having just that one robot who's practiced a lot of clean stacking, doing it by themselves, they're able to get more volume in there. And that transition point of where volume really matters is getting early and earlier in the matches. So as we get to championships and Einstein and district championships, we're going to see that that's going to happen when there's still 100 seconds on the clock. That it's going to be the team that wins after 100 seconds or owns the scale is going to be the one that stacked neater because the races are just getting so quick. So because we're short on time, I'm gonna leave it there. There was a lot of other little tidbits of action going on in this match, and the robots were playing up till the end, so the hanging situations at the end got very interesting. But key takeaways, I think the Blue Alliance really set it up well with 118 scoring by themselves after an initial smart autonomous mode to have prepped cubes in the right hands. I think the Blue Alliance did a good job of attacking deep on the Red Alliance, which didn't allow them to get many vault points. You can see they only have 3 cubes in the vault, where the Blue Alliance got a lot more in the vault, plus got the advantage of doing an early an early boost, and then also getting to use a force, so more points there. And then just smart play by the third robot on the Blue Alliance. So autonomous really starting to matter, I think, with how you lay that out and making your pick smart so that you're taking advantage of how you come out of autonomous. We do have a few questions here. Let me see.
The first question, Mason, for you is
thanks.
Maple Syrup 34. What do you think about doing cubes into the exchange in auto?
Interesting. To me, that strategy is for the top 0.001% teams. You need to have the scale and the switch covered by 2 robots themselves to even consider doing that, I think. What do you guys think?
I think at the higher levels of play, which is kind of what we focus on in this show, I don't know that necessarily the value's there, because that cube that could be placed into the vault could also be placed into the switch for an early switch lead, which could distract your opponent, make them give up on trying to steal away your switch, which I think is going to be a very common strategy, or make them do a little bit more work. So I just think that your early cubes have more value, scoring points per second, as opposed to taking a 5-point raw value.
Yeah, I really like when I see the autos that put multiple into the switch. I think that sets up alliances really well. The points are the same for putting them in the vault later on in the match. I don't know that I would complain about it if an alliance had that as an ability, but I wouldn't put it as their top focus. I wouldn't forego building your switch auto or even a scale auto if your robot has that capability. But if you were a second round pick who could do a vault auto, that would be very valuable.
And I would also say it depends on what they do with those cubes that enter the exchange. I mean, if they place them into boost, I'm okay. But if you just throw them into levitate, you're just wasting opportunity to get early points. So levitate can happen at any point. But I do really like boosting at the very start of the match, especially if you're an underdog and you sneak an early lead on the scale to boost that right away.
And that's actually what the Blue Alliance did in that match. I missed it in my coverage, but they used an early boost, which I think is something unique. I see so often everyone's using Levitate as their first power-up, and I get it. Levitate's important, but, man, I think they're leaving some important points away by not getting that in.
Yeah, I really like the alliances that stack their cubes right in front of the vault and then, just takes them and shoves them in when they need to shove them in.
Mm-hmm. We got another question from Alt Sudo who asks or states that 148 is in the far driver station, so can they really see that cube? And I think that's definitely a big part of this game is vision. But what the really good teams are doing out there is they spread out their people. So they're using their coach to walk to the other side and be an extra line of sight and studying that. For instance, a team like 148, they're so good. John's back there coaching. He doesn't have to micromanage and tell them how to score a cube. He tells his drive team to score that cube. He can walk away with confidence that cube is going to get scored. While he's doing that, can figure out where the next cube is to give that advice. Or the co-pilot can do that. Or a team like 148 has cameras on their robots that they should be using to find that cube back there. I think the really good teams are the ones who pause for that extra second, look around the field to understand where the most ideal cube is, and then go get it and not just rush right into it. In basketball, there's this, concept of switching between offense and defense every time the ball changes hands. And the players who do that really well and can switch their mind so fast end up being really successful. I think we have a lot of similar actions in this game, just like we did in 2014, where teams score and then they have to make this decision of what they're going to do next and where they're going to go. And it can be different a lot of different times based on the situation. So teams who can adapt to that really well are going to be very successful in this game.
Yeah. So let's switch gears now. Let's move on to the Chesapeake District Championship. And this is an interesting story here. The match we're going to cover is quarterfinal 1, match 2. You have Alliance 1 versus Alliance 8. And in the first match, 8 won the first match with a pretty narrow score of 342 to 335. But the key to the first match is Blue held the scale for more of the match. They were down in auto, but they really, really controlled the scale in match 1. And this is kind of interesting. I didn't look too hard at the individual stats of all the teams, but it looked like that there were some interesting rankings that happened. There's a definitely a mixture of skills that ranked in the top 8 at the Chesapeake District Championship, and you end up with a number 8 alliance that is decorated in blue banners. It kind of points to the potential of some errors in picking as well. But basically, 8 is up. Alliance 8 is up in the first match. So going into this, Red needs a win to stay alive, which is kind of rare to see. Seeing 8 taking down the number 1 seed alliance, especially at a district championship. So I guess we can roll right into auto. I'm going to kind of talk as it happens. But basically, we'll see that 1731 will come. The match will begin here. 1731 will come and put up a red robot there. Will put a cube on the scale early. Sparky will come right behind there and level the scale in auto. And then both 1731 misses a cube and 1885 misses a cube. So the scale is balanced for auto. In the first match, if you want to pause for a second, in the first match, Red controlled the scale for auto, so they had a bit of an advantage in match 1, but in match 2, the scale is basically only owned for a few seconds by Red here. So moving on to teleop, the action's going to fire up real quick here. If we can go ahead and keep rolling. We'll see that both alliances, they elect to send 2 robots after the scale at the exact same time, but Blue gets there a little bit first. So Blue gets a couple seconds of ownership, but Red's going to come back, and they're going to come balance the scale once again. But we already see clearly here that Blue is faster. If you want to pause and actually rewind for a second here, one thing I don't have in my notes but just noticed, we actually see 384, they ignore the cubes on the switch fence here. They actually elect, as soon as they place their first cube, they elect to go to the portal because it seems to be faster for them. There's no robots over by the blue or the Red Alliance driver wall, so they're completely undefended. Unlike the last match we just saw, they're completely undefended to go get cubes as fast as they want from the portal, which is interesting. We were just talking about how valuable the switch cubes are, but 384 kind of goes against that and runs a faster cycle here with going and getting a portal cube. So we definitely see that Blue already is faster here at getting cubes. And we see that 1731 in the left has decided to grab a cube from the, I call it the vault pile, or the loot pile. They don't go after the cubes along the fence, which is interesting. Meanwhile, 1629's back, ready to place a cube again, and we're gonna roll here. We're gonna see some pretty critical mistakes happen by the Red Alliance here. We're gonna see that 1629 puts a cube on the scale, and 339 they kind of wait for 1629 to play, and then they're going after the opponent's switch. That's where they're heading. But if you want to pause for a second here, there's already 3 cubes on the opponent's switch, and soon to be a 4th that 1422 is going to put here. The blue switch is locked up. There's almost no point in going after the blue switch here. And we see that Red is already losing the scale. Blue is holding it. And unfortunately, there's no live scoring, but there's no cubes in the Red vault yet. We're going to see that 1731 realizes that there's no cubes in the vault, but it's going to be a mistake. So if you want to keep rolling, we'll see that 1731 is going to go start putting some cubes in the vault, and then, which actually we missed a second ago, they realize, oh crap, we don't have the scale, so they go try to help 1629. But at this point, Blue's got the scale, and they're gonna keep holding the scale pretty much for the rest of this match. I have another thing written down here, but I don't have a timestamp, so I'm going to skip over it. But we do see that 1629 is kind of hunting for cubes. They did a second ago. They tried to go get a cube from the portal, but the red human player was asleep, so they had to go and grab a cube from the loot piles, which cost 1629 and the Red Alliance yet more time. So basically the moral of the story here is that Blue leads the scale. The number 8 alliance here is able to lead the scale over number 1, and Red just never can catch up because there's a few mistakes here and there that Red makes on basically cube management and where they're getting cubes from. This one's gonna be quick, but if I was gonna play this match again, spoiler, Blue wins with a score of 411 to 275. It's basically all in ownership points. We'll see as the match plays out that each alliance gets a robot that climbs, but there's a couple super key key lessons here. Number one is that 422, they're gonna have that blue switch owned. They didn't match one. It's owned. Don't even bother. You see that 339 at the end of this match, they're still trying to put those cubes on the switch, but they never, ever, ever get ownership of the blue switch. What I would have done, I probably would have had 339 play the vault and keep 2 red robots on the scale to try and keep up with the 2 blue robots. We'll see that the climbs end up being even here, but the difference is all in ownership as the match comes to an end. I don't know if I would do anything other than just let 339 do the vault and fill the vault and have 1731 and the Garrett Coalition try to go toe for toe with blue on the scale. What do you guys think? This match is not as clean as others we've watched.
I mean, I watched that, early in the match, the blue robots going up to the portal, and it's kind of, everything that I was trying to convince you not to do, but they're so successful at it and so quick. I mean, this is the every bot strategy of if you can be quick at the portal, you can run fast cycles. And there's the red robot who is filling up the vault just lets them go, and it doesn't shake them. It's such a quick, they're right there. It's right in front of the drivers. All they have to do is turn 90 degrees, drive over there and set up a block. With that, I think you could really shifted the flow of this match against the Blue Alliance. But they get that early lead on the scale, and it's just, it's hard to come back from that. And then the stacking on that red scale is just atrocious.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I'm starting to see this more and more, that high-seeded alliances usually have multiple good scale robots just by the nature of the game. It's teams that one more rank higher, and they pick teams who are good at the scale. And then they have 2 scale robots who are trying to do the same task together, and they actually kind of work against each other, and their combined power isn't actually that great.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely cube management, just such a big deal in this game, honestly.
So taking a look at the chat, we got a couple questions here. So here's one from Funny Hobo Kid. How are you feeling about a second round pick that switch auto then delays scale bots massively?
I mean, I probably want my vault filled first before I look into that sort of strategy. I'm expecting at high levels of play, I need to send 2 robots after the scale because that's what my opponent's probably going to do. I'm not willing to. I'm good with the switch auto. Don't get me wrong. That's great. But defense, if your vault isn't covered, is probably a waste of time.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Nick. I just think that you're going to need 3 robots that can score, that are planning on scoring cubes. Sure, there's some time for some strategic defense, especially for that robot that's playing the vault to, lock people in at the portal. But if they're solely going to, if that team is not going to score any cubes in teleop, I think you're going to run into some problems.
Yeah.
So Azatoth asks, how often is it worth it to pressure the opposing switch purely to try and distract their vault / backcourt robot?
I mean, I think we saw a case when you shouldn't do that in this past match. If there's like 3 or 4 cubes in the opponent's switch, not worth it. If there's 1, yeah, sure, why not? If you own the scale with 2 or 3 cubes ahead, yeah, sure, there's value to it.
So could I summarize what you're saying? Is you're saying own the scale first, and then only after you're owning the scale do you transition to a pressure the opponent switch strategy?
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, Karthik, do you agree with that, or do you feel a little differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about, strategically, like, because you want to take those, you want to kill those 12 cubes in the middle first. Mm-hmm. And so there's something to be said about having 1 robot on the scale the way that 118 was, and then having the other robot staying out of the way and maybe taking 3 of those quick, let's call them platform cubes, and just dumping them off in the switch. But at the same time, like, every cycle is so much longer if you're behind on the scale, and I don't know that there's many teams out there that can handle a 2-on-1 battle the way that 118 did in Colorado.
Yeah, it's so much of me wants to say that I think you should be doing 1 on the scale and always pressuring the opponent's switch, because as soon as you put that pressure on, that other alliance has to respond, and they usually screw up in the response. Either they ignore it or they don't get their vault filled, or they have to take someone off the scale. But, that strategy doesn't hold up to the fact that if two robots on the other alliance are scoring on the scale and they win that scale and there's no competition for them, then they just start doing other stuff and attacking you. So it seems like many matches I watch in many of the elimination tournaments, it's turning into two robots on the scale. If you have two robots on the scale, put two robots on the scale. And then it transitions at this very high level to where it kind of starts to be one robot on the scale or trading robots on the scale and doing a bunch of other tasks. But that's at extremely high levels.
I also think that something that's worth looking at is that there's been some alliances where two robots on the scale has worked very well. They've, they've hit it from both sides and they, have a little bit of synergy. But I've also seen other alliances where two robots on the scale are just getting each other's way, especially as they're trying to, find their way to the next cube. So sometimes it might just be better to, like the 118 3005 one was the perfect example. I just think that if 3005 had been on the scale, it wasn't going to help them. And that's why it was so effective to lead 3005 down the other switch.
And if anyone wants to do their homework, you can go back and watch the first semifinal match that they lose. And that's part of the reason why is them getting in each other's way. So anyways, Karthik, did you pick out a match for us?
I did. I was going to try and be creative and try and find this gem of a match somewhere, but I was just like, F it, let's just watch the poops. So we are going to watch the finals from the Silicon Valley Regional. And so this is an interesting match because this is the closest that anyone's been to the poops this year. 971 and 846 formed an impressive 1-2 combo on the scale, and they were able to keep this match within 100 points. So, I mean, that's when it comes to the poops who are 30-0 and had a 4.0 RP average, that's as good as we're going to get at this point in the season. So let's try and figure out how they were able to keep it close, and did they have a shot at winning, or is there something out there for the rest of the teams who are going to be going to Houston champs on hey, maybe this team is beatable somehow? So let's maybe we'll see what we find. So let's just jump right into this match in auto. And so let's pause right away in auto. So there we go. 846 actually beats the poofs to the scale because the poofs have to cross the field and 846 is on the right side. So it looks like what the Blue Alliance did here was, it seems like that 846 and 971, one of them was going to run a straight ahead scale auto, while the 254 973 Alliance said the poofs are just going to do their thing. And it makes sense because we know the poofs can get 3 cubes. But for just a second here, the Blue Alliance had a lead on the scale. So let's keep watching. As Autonomous finishes up, 846, the Funky Monkeys do a nice job to get 2 on the scale, which would normally be a win. But when you're playing the poofs, you got to deal with 3. But even still, Autonomous ends, and let's pause. And there we go. Autonomous ends, and the poofs only have a 1 cube lead on the scale. That's not something what they're used to. So let's watch to see where the poofs go with their first move. They grab a cube. And right here, boom, they pass their scale and they go all the way around. Pause, please.
Interesting.
So why did they make this decision to go all the way around as opposed to consolidating on the scale? So there's...
Maybe it's a muscle memory thing? I'm going to jump in as a driver. If I'm used to being 3 cubes ahead in every match, the first thing I'm going to remember to do is, okay, I've got my opponent's switch to do. And it's just a muscle memory thing that maybe it is just a muscle memory thing they haven't had to deal with before.
Well, that's absolutely what I think it is. I think it's okay. Not just muscle memory. I just think that was the strategy. It's like, hey,
that was the plan, right?
Yeah, we're going to have a lead on the scale, and then we're going to go murder the opponent's switch, which is what 254 and 3310 as well have been doing so well this season. So they went over there, but I mean, you're playing 971 and 846, so let's take a look to see how this goes to start the match. 971's got a cube right away. 973 is struggling a little bit with theirs. 973 drops a cube. And 971 comes right back. And if 971 places this cube right here, they're going to take leadership on the scale. But 971 is derping, and they just miss. But 846 comes in to take the lead. So let's pause right here. Pause. And if 971 hits that cube, they would have had a 2-cube lead, 97 seconds left in the match. So this is really big. But let's
Yeah.
watch what's happening in the background here. As we watch that again at the 97-second mark, and let's pause, noticing what's happening on the display. The Red Alliance has played Force. This is just so smart. Like, the Poofs rarely ever are losing on the scale. It's almost like the human player back there was told, in case we're losing on the scale, force the scale right away, which is what they do. And so that was just like crazy that they were able to adapt like that, because I've seen it so many times this year where good teams who've been used to winning the scale in every single match don't adapt. But the 254 Alliance was ready for that one, and that force was very valuable. So that was pretty impressive. So let's just let this go for a little bit. And, right away the Poofs, well, they're not messing around with the opponent's switch anymore. They know what they need to do. And them in 973 are tag teaming that scale, and they take it back, and, it kind of goes back and forth here for a bit. And at the 75-second mark, we're going to see where we are. The blue, and let's pause right here. Both sides have 6 cubes on the scale, but blue has the lead just because blue's cubes are positioned a little bit better, and positioning does matter. And so we need to think about these things, because in the long run, these like 5-10 second intervals could really be important. I'm going to talk about that as we come towards the end of the match.
And to be fair, at this point, with 75 seconds left and you're only down by 30 points, it's anybody's game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And right now, at this snapshot, blue is earning points twice as fast as red is earning points. So it's not going to take, if things stay in this state, it's not going to take long for blue to catch up. So let's watch and see what 971 does with this cube. They go up, and while the Poofs are scoring, 971 drops one. And we're going to pause again. And I want us to hold on to this moment, because that's the second time we've seen 971 drop a cube. And this match was closer than I think a lot of people realized. So let's watch to see what 971 does as they try and pick this cube back up. They are not being as smooth as we've seen them. And I wonder if this is a little bit of panic, knowing how close the scale is and realizing they have a shot right here. But this is killer, because there's an opportunity right now. And so then, and let's pause right here. Pause. And 971 just has given up on the scale at this point, and they're going to go drop this cube in the opponent's switch. The opponent's switch, where they're down by 5. And I think, I can't see on the scale, but it looks like maybe they're down by 2.
At most, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that is a rough one.
That hurt.
At this point, right? Sorry, go on. Whoever, I lost track of who that was, but
No, it's just a stumper right there. It's I hate to point out the flaw in it all, but it's just, that's the worst possible place to put the cube. I mean, you have a bolt that's not full, that would be okay. You've got your own switch, which is up by 2, so you could increase that margin. I'll give you that, because it's the Poofs. You could use a little bit more margin. The scale would have been great. But so your switch, your bolt, your scale, the opponent's switch was the absolute worst place at a 5 cube deficit with only 44 seconds left in the match.
Yeah.
That's just hard to swallow right there. Yeah.
And really, and the Poofs play a smart boost here. They're getting an extra 10 points out of their switch. And at this point, the match is kind of over. So we'll just kind of watch the rest of it as it plays out. But and the Poofs realize it's over, because they're going to go to the platform already to set up for a lift super, super early. Like,
no kidding.
Yeah, like, this is not what you expect to see in the finals, but especially against two teams the quality of 971 and the Funky Monkeys. The Funky Monkeys are still going at it. So, like, and yeah. So, I mean, so what have we learned as we watch the dying seconds here? If you blink against 254, it might be too late. And 971 blinked a couple times with the drop cube, and they blinked when they put that cube into the switch. And even while keeping it close and auto and a great start to tally up at the Blue Alliance, they just couldn't keep up. Maybe they could have kept up if they had a third robot that could have made a play at the opposing switch. I don't know. What I want to do right now is I want to jump to the Blue Alliance, and I want to take a look at the score breakdown for this match. So, we see the animation that we've seen too many times this year. But I wanted to try and look at the numbers to see what blue could have done to pull this back. So if you go to the match results and then go to finals match number 2, and then we can look at this score breakdown. So we see that it was an 82-point difference in score.
Hold on, you're talking about finals match 1 breakdown, correct?
Oh, yeah, finals match 1 is what I need. That was me. I called for the wrong match. So 82 points. But let's think about some things here. What if blue had a third partner that could have finished the vault? So let's say they finish the vault and get, instead of getting 25 points in the vault, they get 45. So that's 20 extra points. And let's say they were able to boost somewhat effectively. So let's say they do a level 3 boost. I'm going to give them 10 points for boosting their own switch because they owned it the whole match. I'm going to give them 6 for boosting the scale. I'm going to say they do it relatively intelligently, but like you can't just give them 10 because they didn't own the scale for the whole match. So let's give them 16 points there. That's 36 points. And now our difference in score is 46 points. Could blue have owned the scale for 23 extra seconds if 971 doesn't drop a couple cubes there? I don't know.
I think they'd be pretty close to that magical 23 number, Karthik. Those 2 cubes that they dropped and then the cube they abandoned might have been the difference.
Right, and so it's easy to say that because, like, I always hated that when people were like, it was the most annoying thing. It was like, oh, if we had just done this and this, we would have beat you. I'm like, yeah, you moron. If you had just done this and this, I might have done something differently too. And like the person would have gone to climb at 45 seconds left. So,
yeah.
Like I'm not trying to say that, oh, they were this close from taking it. They weren't. Like this, the Poofs in 973 really manhandled this match. But
and to be fair, the 4159, the Cardinal Botics, the blue robot who was the vault bot who didn't fill up the vault. Well, part of that was they were playing defense on the Poofs a lot of the time, and that defense, especially early in the match, slowed the Poofs down quite a bit, and didn't allow the Poofs to one, attack their switch very effectively, and 2, not to fill up their own scale. So, while they didn't generate a lot of points, I think they did a great job at slowing down. The Cheese Moves, in my opinion, have the world's best robot this year. It's just phenomenal. It's simple, it's effective, and they're fast, and they're well-trained drivers, so they're doing great stuff over there. But they're beatable. Like I don't think they've already won a world championship. I think they have a lot of matches to play. I think alliances can beat them with strategy because you kind of max out in this game on how good you can actually be.
Right. And I think this kind of leaves us where we were at the end of Arizona, which Mason and I did for Game Day Live. Like, if you want to beat 254, you need to play close to perfect. You need to have 2 solid scale bots, and by solid I mean like the level that we saw of 846 and 971 or better. Your third partner needs to make a major contribution, and you need 254's alliance to make some mistakes. It's not going to be easy, that's for sure, but it could happen.
So we got a couple questions here. First one from Maple Syrup 34 says, is kind of off topic from this match, but regarding regionals, when are the winners of awards decided?
While playoffs are happening.
Yeah, usually the judges kind of have that locked in place by like lunchtime, and then they're just kind of writing award scripts during the early part of playoffs. As an MC, I've gotten my award scripts as early as quarterfinal 1 and as late as finals match 3.
So we want to make sure we get our giveaway in before we run out of time here. So we are, our giveaway this week is a t-shirt from the Digital Goats, Team 829. To win, you must follow the Fun channel. And if you choose to directly support the show or subscribers, you get a 5x chance to win, 5 times the chance to win. So type in the keyboard black and gold, one word, into chat right now, and we will draw for the winner in a few minutes. So let's get that going. Spam that chat, but we got a few more questions here that we can go to real fast. From Tombot254.
This one's actually for you, Mason.
It's for me.
Yeah, the question is, taking into account all that we have learned about strategies, power-ups, mechanisms, and robots, who is the best-looking strategist in first?
The best looking strategist in first. I don't know. It's a great question. I gotta say, when it comes to strategists for me, I think that's the coaches behind the glass who are amazing. There's this guy who's coaching the Robonauts these days, Justin Ridley. Have you guys seen his beard?
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah. That is pretty impressive right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that question wasn't asked for Nick and I, so we're off the hook.
Yeah, lucky guys. We do have another one here from Azatoth where does it make sense to try and set up your best auto on the same side as a team like 254, hoping that you would get the straightaway and that they would get the crossover?
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's no secret that the odds aren't equal for every different arrangement, right? So I think you play that one arrangement that has a 30% chance, and hopefully you get that.
One more question that we have to finish things off. Can a robot as smooth as 118 beat 254?
I mean, I totally think something like that's in the cards. You know, the stack arrangement really matters. We don't see 254 play a lot of scale matches, and they've got some really impressive tricks for putting cubes on the scale because they've got this extended reach whenever they roll that intake over. So, shoot, I would pay to see that match. I think it's great.
I think a lot of it's going to come to, and I know there's going to be different fun shows talking about divisions when they come out, but a lot of it's going to come down to divisions at the championship. Like if 118 and 148 are in the same division, and 254 is in a division that ends up like Archimedes from last year at North Champs or whatever, like it's that they might be hard pressed, they might be in a tough spot. But one thing I do know is 254 with that 3-cube auto is always going to be right there to start teleop.
Yeah.
And that's massive. So I'm curious to see who else can pull out a consistent 3-cube auto. I think that 3310 was close to it this weekend in the Juarez regional or whatever it was. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm curious who's going to step up before championships. There's a number of teams who have had a couple weeks off and they're working on new upgrades and what they're going to bring in to championships. And district teams are getting their unbag time to add on new things. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of range for a couple of other robots to really grow up and get really competitive. So I guess, guys, with that, we're pretty much out of time here. So we're going to wrap up this episode. Nick, buddy, thanks for joining us. Indiana District Championships, they're coming up in 2 weeks. What's in store for 3940 Cybertooth, your team?
Mostly just working more on auto because that's the name of first power-up, and maybe making our buddy bar a little bit longer.
Got to get those RP points.
Yep.
Right away, let's go over and have Tyler announce the winner of our giveaway.
Thanks, Mason. So we're going to roll for that giveaway, and thank you to everybody who has followed and subscribed to help support First Updates Now. The winner of this is going to be, there he is, Caltran 2410. Dreams can come true is what it comes down to. So Caltran, congratulations, buddy. You have finally won something for all your years of support. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll reach out to you, Caltran. Let's get some rigged emotes in chat, and congratulations to Caltran 2410.
Congrats. I'm so proud of you. Karthik, buddy, you're protecting that voice of yours? You got a lot of talking coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the Western District in London, Ontario this weekend. And then right after that, we're going to be at the two-field extravaganza for Ontario District Champs. It's going to be 80 teams, like the best that Ontario has to offer. We got 3 MCs, 3 game announcers, and plus a bunch of different surprises from First Canada. So it's going to be a championship-like show.
Is that like 2 different divisions, and then the winners of the divisions play off at the end?
That is what it's going to be. 2 divisions,
that sounds
40 teams.
awesome.
Yeah,
I wish I could be there.
Yeah, it's gonna be intense. We've seen a lot of Canadian teams on Einstein or in division finals the last few years, and the Ontario, there's a group of 20 Ontario teams that are all in that same tier of scale awesomeness. So it's going to be, I think we could see easily an overall winner coming from Alliance 4 or 5 maybe. So it's going to be intense.
Awesome. Look forward to watching that. Hopefully we have some matches to break down after that in preparation for our World Championships events coming up at the end of April. So thank you guys for all joining us on the show tonight. My 2 guest hosts have been amazing, and all of our audience. We couldn't do it without you especially. So let us know what you thought of the show. We're doing this for you, for the audience out there. So let us know on Discord or Facebook or Chief Delphi. We read all the comments. We try to incorporate them in. So please continue to let us know what you think. We'll be back with FUNalysis next month, getting ready for championships. We can't wait to see how Power Up continues to evolve. If you're watching live for the FRC Top 25, it's coming up next at the top of the hour in just 10 minutes. And after that, more fun action continues with first updates now after dark. So make sure you stick around for that very candid commentary coming up. So on behalf of myself and Karthik and Nick and our producer, Tyler, I would like to thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you all for our moderators in the chat. We'll see you next time on Fun. I'll talk to you guys then. Bye-bye.